Today we are talking about why people reject the truth. And the reason why people reject the truth that we're going to be discussing today is because they do not understand the truth that you are presenting to them, or the evidence or the proofs that you are using to present the truth to them. So in either of the situation, people often reject the truth because they do not understand. And that is understandable. It's not always easy to understand what is taught to us from the first time. So we could as well anticipate that there will be times when you as Christians or you as young people will present the truth about anything. You will talk to people about the truth, and you know it is the truth. And you are surprised. Why can they reject it? Why are people rejecting this? And the only reason why they are rejecting it is because that truth you are presenting to them, or the way you are presenting it to them, or the proofs that you are using to argument your case, to argue your case to them, might not be convincing enough for them. So people will likely reject it, not because what you are saying is not true, not because the truth is not the truth, but mainly because they do not understand. Now, I've given you many reasons why people reject the truth. This is another reason. People reject the truth because they don't understand, So what do you need to do in order for people to understand? In the case of Jesus, let me see a passage. How many of you remember the parable of the sower? The parable, when Jesus was talking the parable of the sower, that the sower went to sow, and some fell on good soil, some on bad soil, some on, you remember? Come tell us about the parable. Joy is ready as usual. She's going to tell us about the parable. Do you have microphone? Microphone.
So the farmer was planting one day, and then there was this seed. So the seed is the word of God, and the ground it went on is the hearts of men. So the seed, the farmer was planting one day, and then a seed went on good soil. One went on thorns. Another one went on the pavement side, and the fourth one went on rocky.
Well?
Went on rocky roads.
Rocky, yeah.
And
then the good ground.
Yeah. And it was explaining how Jesus was explaining how the hearts of men and the word of God. So, but the rocky soil is really bad. The good soil is that you let the word of God into your heart and you let it grow.
What a miracle child. How do you know all these things?
Because in my school.
It's like you remember everything anybody tells you. You don't forget stuff?
Not really.
Not really. Very good. Good job. Good job. Okay. Who wants to compliment supplement that story that Joy just told us, please.
Explain the story.
Yeah, please.
So basically what happened is the farmer was planting
Can you speak louder a little bit?
What happened was the farmer was planting seeds, and what happened is some of them fell on the rocky road, some of them fell on the good soil, and some of them fell on the thorns. The ones that fell on the good soil are the ones that heard the word and applied it to their lives, and the ones that fell on the rocky soil is the ones that heard the word, and they let it come out through the other ear, and they didn't do anything about it. The seeds that fell on the thorns is the people that didn't hear the word or receive it.
Very good. So you know the meaning as well, eh? Okay. But there is another detail I want to talk about this parable. After Jesus finished telling the story about the parable, his disciples called him together and they came to him and told him that, will you explain the parable to us? Like, we don't understand this parable. And so to which Jesus answered and said, and he said to them, do you not understand this parable? How then will you understand all parables? Now, in that one verse, Jesus used one word twice. In one sentence, Jesus used one word twice. Who noticed? What was that word?
Parable.
Parable. No, he used parable twice. Really? There's another word he used twice in that word. Okay? In that sentence.
Understand.
Understand. He used the word understand twice. He said, do you mean you don't understand this parable? If you do not understand this parable, how will you, maybe it's actually 2 or 3 times, how will you understand other parables? So parables also is 2 times. Yeah, you're right. But the word I'm talking about is the word understand. If you don't understand this parable now, how will you understand other parables? So the word is understand. Why is Jesus particular about understanding? Jesus is so particular about understanding. The only thing he's concerned about is one word, understand, understanding. He's only particular about that. These people need to understand what is happening. Why is Jesus very concerned about people understanding like this? And in other places, Jesus will come to them and say that you of little faith, don't you understand? I've been with you all this while. Why can't you understand? Jesus is always talking about understanding. In some other cases, he will tell them something like, he that has ear, let him hear what the Spirit of God is saying. He will say things like, verily, verily, I say unto you. Then, tell them the parable. Why is he emphasizing? Jesus is always emphasizing ears, eyes, and understanding. Those are very important components, very important words, because they are very important because Jesus knows that there is nothing more important than understanding when it comes to teaching. Understanding is the most important element of teaching. So that's what I'm saying as well, that when you are trying to communicate to people any truth, understanding is the key to communicate truth to people. So whenever you are talking to anybody about truth, don't rush to go talk to people about truth until you work on yourself, on your communication style, and on your communication skills. You need to, first of all, listen to yourself many, many times to make sure that you make it easy. So, for example, whenever you want to communicate any truth or to publicly to anybody, sit down in your solitude, repeat that truth to yourself the first time. Maybe you like it. But go back, think about it again and say, how can I make it even better or even easier for people to understand? Once you have come out with easier method, you've added one or two other truths, then repeat it to yourself again with those additional helps that you have added. Once you have done that, think about, is there any way I could still make this even better? Maybe you want to add stories now. Maybe you want to add quotations. Maybe you want to add illustrations. Maybe you want to add statistics. Maybe you want to add figures. Maybe you want to add references. Maybe you want to add inferences. Then repeat it to yourself again with those other helps. Then choose the one of them that is easiest for you to understand and for others to understand. Before you now know that your sermon or your truth or your word that you want to communicate is ready. It has to be ready, and you have to repeat it to yourself many, many times so that by the time you go out to talk to anybody about it, you are not forgetting anything, and you are having the best variant, the best version, and the most perfect variation of your truth. So when people don't understand the truth that you are communicating to them, it is not always their fault. That is the point I'm trying to make. It is not always the fault of the people that are listening to you. Because if they don't understand your truth, they will reject your truth. And the reason they will reject your truth is because they do not understand. And if they do not understand, they are not the only ones to blame for it. Sometimes you are to blame for it. Because when they do not understand, it's not their fault. When they don't understand like that, it means that you did not do your job well as well. You didn't do a good job. So, in order for you not to be guilty of them not understanding, in order for you not to be blamed for their lack of understanding, what do? You make sure that you work on yourself and you rehearse the truth that you want to communicate to people the best possible way, to yourself, in your closest, by yourself, and when you are most satisfied, then you go out and talk to people. Maybe you will even like to repeat it until you could repeat it to them and talk to them offhand without reading it, and just from memory. But the idea is not to just be able to talk from memory, but the idea is to be able to talk in a way that anybody will understand. Have you ever noticed some people that when they talk, they speak so many big grammar and so many big vocabulary that at the end of the day, you just look at them and say, wow, he's so smart. By the time it's finished, you look at them and shake your head and say, I will never be able to be like this. Well, that is a bad communicator right there. Because he has been the only one that has gotten the credit, but you didn't understand anything. But if he's a good communicator, even the simplest person there will understand. Or the smallest child there will understand. Even if you are the smallest person there, you should understand what the person is talking about. But if you don't understand, is not a good communication. So good communication is, don't worry about it, don't worry, so that you will not be the one to cry today. No danger, it doesn't hurt. So the good communicator is the one that is able to communicate that everybody at the end of the day says, wow, it is so clear that even a child will understand. That is good communication. Don't ever be under the pressure of trying to impress with your knowledge. When you begin to try to impress with your knowledge, you could do a good job with that. People will clap for you and say, wow, you're so smart. But at the end of the day, they go out and they don't remember anything. So don't try to impress people. Also, don't come to talk to people trying to speak to them all the big grammars that you just learned the last time you studied. Don't try to come out speaking big grammar. Even if you happen to speak big grammar, break it down until everybody understands. So, understanding is key. The goal of your talking to people is for them to understand. So how do you know they understand? People understand when they can implement what you have taught them. The purpose of understanding is to implement, is to perform, is to do what you have taught them. So if the people are saying they understand and they are only able to repeat, then they didn't understand. People only understand when they are able to do as well. So that's why Jesus is very particular about understanding. Now, so Jesus decided to break that parable down to his disciple. And you will see a big difference. If you read that parable, you will see the way Jesus brought understanding to his disciples. So let's read it. In Mark chapter 4, verses 13 downward. And he said to them, do you not understand this parable? How then will you understand all the parables? So, of course, he was surprised that they didn't understand. So what did he do? Did he just get annoyed and turn his back and left? No. When people don't understand, it means it's not just their fault, it's my responsibility to do a better job. So instead of Jesus just turning and saying, you are too dull, I'm leaving, he knew what to do and he did better. And what he did is he started all over again. Now that he started, he was not just telling them the parable, he was explaining every point and every part of the parable. So he says, the sower sows the word. Before, he had said the sower went to sow the seed. But now, he explained to them that the seed is the word. So he's giving them exact meaning of everything he meant. So that is to bring understanding. So now they know, okay, I don't have to be a farmer. Each time I hear the word, it's the same thing. It could either be in good soil, bad soil, and all that. So he keeps on saying, and these are the ones by the wayside where the word is sown. So the seed that falls by the wayside, he said, when they hear, Satan comes immediately and takes away the word that was sown in their hearts. Wayside. What is wayside? Wayside means on the way. It did not get to destination. Wayside is talking about, when you are going somewhere, the way is to take you to your destination. The purpose of a road is destination. But if the thing stops at the roadside, where is the purpose? Where is the destination? It means it didn't get to destination. And Jesus explains to us here, why is it that a seed will fall by the roadside? He said it's because Satan comes immediately and takes away the word that was sown in their heart. Each time you forget a message or a word or a truth that is given to you and you don't even remember it, you don't remember to meditate upon it, that is roadside. It means Satan is after. Satan is to blame. Satan is after that word, and he has just stolen it away from you. So roadside is the word that does not get to the destination. The destination is that it has to get to your heart. It has to get to your mind, where you are going to process it, think about it until it gets to your heart. And from your heart, it's become your understanding. And from there, you could begin to practice it. But when you don't even remember anymore, that means that word has fallen by the roadside. So, next one, it says, this likewise, that's the second seed. It said, this likewise are the ones sown on the stony ground. That is the second seed. They fall on the stony ground. When they hear the word, immediately receive it with gladness. So they receive it with gladness initially, and they have no root in themselves, and so endure only for a time. Afterward, when tribulation and persecution arises for the word's sake, immediately they stumble. So it means the word this time did not fall by the roadside. It actually got to the destination. So the word actually got to the mind of the person or to the heart of the person. But because it didn't succeed in taking root. It didn't succeed in taking root. It was lying on the surface because there was stone on the ground. So there was no root there. And because of that, the word also was there only for a short time. And trials and tribulations, because it was lying on the surface, went and removed it, and the person loses the word, or loses the truth. Then the one that falls on the tongues, among the tongues, they are the ones who hear the word, and the cares of this word, because tongues are things that are ready to shock it. So those are the cares of this word, deceitfulness of riches, and desires for other things entering in, they shock in the word, and it becomes unfruitful. So there are three things that make people to lack understanding. Three things that make people not to hear or to receive the truth that you are speaking to them. Three things that fight against people's understanding. One, Satan is the one that comes to take what is on the roadside. Second, shallow-mindedness. Shallow-mindedness, because it's a stony place, there is shallow-minded. No, it's not deep. It didn't go deep. Shallow-mindedness. Number three, trials, persecutions. No, sorry. That is, the third one is deception of the word. The deceitfulness of riches, desires for things, and worldliness. Yeah, so the deception of the word, carelessness and frivolities of the word. And of course, you have persecutions and trials. So we could say four things, four main things that stand on the way of people getting understanding. That's Satan, number one. Number two, shallow-mindedness. Number three, persecutions and trials. Number four, deceitfulness of riches, the world, desires for things, frivolities of life, vanities of life. So those four things hinder people from understanding. Now, how does that work? How does Satan work? The roadside. the roadside, it didn't get to the destination. So let's say we are talking right now, kids. Hello? What is Satan's strategy? Satan doesn't come physically, but it makes the word not to get to the destination, to stop at the roadside. That means when you are hearing the word, Satan tries to distract you one way or the other. Maybe you are sitting right here, but you are already thinking, oh, I'm going home tomorrow. Thank God, I'm going home tomorrow. So you are thinking about home, my friends. Okay, where are they now? Are they back from Africa? Are they back from holidays? Okay, yeah, that one is back, that one is not back. That's what Satan does. Satan makes you to be distracted so that the word is stolen. The word is coming to you, but it's being stolen immediately from you. It's not getting to the destination. That's how Satan works. So how do you overcome that? To bring understanding. For you to have understanding, there is no way you are going to have understanding if the word is stolen, if you have forgotten what you just heard. So, and when you are communicating the truth to people also, make sure you work on this. Don't allow distractions to steal the truth from people. There is one thing that I teach, one concept that I teach. I don't know, I will not be teaching you about it, but I will just mention it. For Satan not to usurp the truth and take over and hijack the truth that you are speaking, you need to teach people to be in the here and now. But since you are young and you are teenagers yourself, for Satan not to be able to steal the truth that is being communicated to you, repeat this word after me. Be in the here and now. You've got to learn to be in the here and now. That's one of the greatest things you could learn. What does it mean to be in the here and now? To be in the here and now means that you are not playing with your smartphone while the truth and instruction is coming out to you. To be in the here and now, you are not thinking about any other thing out of what you are hearing right now. To be in the here and now, you are not bothering about the flies and the butterflies and the bees like yesterday. When you begin to bother about the flies, it means you have no more joy. That's exactly what I'm saying. You saw the fly, it flew to your place? Yes? Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. So don't pay attention to the flies. If you don't pay attention to the flies, then Satan is not going to be able to steal it away from you. But when you are distracted like that, that's what Satan wants. He wants you to be distracted from the truth. So that is the roadside. That means that the truth has fallen by the roadside. And sometimes, hello kids, when the teachers are talking to you, you are somewhere else at home, on the way, or with your friends, in your mind, even though your body is here. Does that happen sometimes? Yes. Yeah, that's exactly the work of Satan there. That's what it means by it being stolen on the roadside. Satan comes to steal it on the roadside before it gets to a place where you could meditate upon it, before it gets to settles in your heart, where you could think about it, where you could process it and try to go and implement it. Satan makes you to lose it immediately. Satan steals the word from you from even getting to the destination of your heart. Roadside always comes through distractions. When you are being distracted, you are not in the here and now, Satan takes over and steals the truth and the word from you. Okay. Now, concerning those people who are watching right now, regarding those people who are watching this program on Facebook, that happens a lot when you are doing Facebook, when you are watching Facebook messages. Because while you are watching the Facebook message, you are cooking, or you are dressing, or you are doing many other things. And that's exactly what Satan likes. Satan steals away the word by not letting it get to the destination, by making it fall by the roadside. That is called by the roadside because you live in that illusion. And the illusion makes you to feel as if you are hearing, but really you are not, it's not settling. You are hearing somehow, but it's by the roadside. You are hearing enough just to deceive yourself and others that you are here and make a few comments. Even the comments themselves could be a roadside distraction that Satan could employ. It could make you to be writing comments all the time, whereby you are not having, the goal is for you not to be able to process the word, so that the truth doesn't get to the destination where it is well processed, and then you could do it. So any kind of distraction is the roadside that Jesus is talking about. That Satan is the master of roadside, trying to distract you and making the seed fall by the roadside. Then the second reason why people don't understand the truth is because of shallow-mindedness. Because it says the seed fell on the stony ground where it did not have roots. Because if there is stony ground there, it means there is no roots. There is no way for it to go down. So the seed is not going down. That means when you hear the word, and the word is, you don't have the time for it to sink. You don't have the opportunity. You didn't give it enough chance for it to sink into you. That is stony ground right there. That is shallow-mindedness. So you could hear the word, but you don't let it sink. It's shallow. It's laying on the surface. It's shallow attitude to the word, shallow understanding of the word, shallow mindedness, surface attitude, or surface reception of the truth will not make you to understand it. And if you don't understand it, you'll never be able to implement it. So how do you overcome the shallowness of truth, of the word that you are hearing? Whenever you hear any word, even if you are in the here and now and you hear very well, that word gets into the destination. But if you don't go back to the word and reverse it to yourself and rehearse it, if you don't go to rehearse the word, if you don't go to make the word sink, it will still be lost. So how do you do that? Let me illustrate that to you somehow. It talks about the seed falling on a stony ground. How do you make a stony ground? How do you make a seed to sink in a stony ground? Almost impossible. So anytime we receive the word like that, it doesn't matter how attentive you receive it. It is still on stony ground. Because stone means there have been some foundations, some other knowledge that were in you before that new knowledge came. So those other knowledge that were in you, they are keeping the seed floating. They are keeping the seed floating on the surface. So because it's a stony ground, it's shallow, it's on the surface. So how do you make any information that you get to sink down into you? How do you make this seed that is lying on the surface to take root? How do you do that? You only make it take root by going back to that place where the seed fell and walking on that ground. So every time you hear the word or the teaching, that's why they give you home assignments or homeworks. The concept is for you to go and spend more time on what you've just heard and on yourself so that could really become understanding to you. The way you do it when it's ground it's a stony ground. You must take a cutlass or a tool or a hoe. Then you go and first of all remove the stones from the stony ground. Because beneath every stony ground is a soil. underneath every stone and ground is a soil. So it takes a lot of effort, it takes a lot of work, but you have to take your time, patience, go back and remove the stone, and then when you get to the soil, you now let the seed enter to the soil so it doesn't remain on the surface. Now, that is for farmers. But for us, how does that apply to you? Each time you hear anything in the class or in the school or anywhere, what you need to do is that you need to go back to that class, to the audio message or to the video message, and begin to listen again. So when you are listening again, you stop it, and you meditate upon what you are hearing. And you ask yourself questions. How does this apply? How can I use this? Oh, I got it now. Then you are removing the stones that were already in you before the truth came. They are the stony ground, the ground that you had before that word came. You are cultivating it by listening over and over and asking yourself questions. You are cultivating you are giving room in your heart and in your soul to it. You are making your heart softer. You are making your mind softer to accept it and to know how to apply it. You are cultivating yourself. You are making the word become flesh in you. You are making it go from the surface, head knowledge, into your heart to become part of you. That is what we call the word becoming flesh. So that word becomes a part of you. The word becomes flesh in you. And then it brings results. That is what you do to make the word become understanding, where you can now apply it. Yep. So the fact that the seed fell on a stony ground is not a tragedy. It's going to be a tragedy if the hearer does not take his time and patience to go and walk the ground. If you hear the word, doesn't matter how much word you hear, if you don't always take time, if you don't have the culture of going back to that word and listen again, it's a waste of time. Just like you now, you've all come here. If you come here the way you are here right now, you hear all these messages, you wrote the exams, you are very happy about it. But if you don't ever go back to listen to the recordings, and I'm sure they're going to give you all the recordings, if you don't go to listen to them again and again, at least one time, to go and meditate over it and repeat it to yourself, it's as good as you've never been here. That thing will lie in you for a week or two. You see, the seed, he said, it will lie on the surface for some time, but for a short time. Then it disappears again. Because it did not get a root. It did not get to the depth of the soil. Then you have to do extra work. So hearing is not enough. For you to get understanding of the truth, you need to do extra work. That's why I'm telling you now. You see what I'm doing with you? I am teaching you how the word and everything we are teaching you this way could become understanding for you to benefit you. Now, when you now get to a place where you begin to teach other people, teach them not just to hear you, but teach them not to be satisfied just hearing. Because I used to be a pastor. I'm still a pastor, but I used to just do pastoring. And I used to be surprised all the time. Why is it that you listen? People come to listen to you, thousands of people. Nobody is doing it. But everybody is just waiting for the next Sunday to come and listen to the next revelation. What is this? Then I discovered that it is not enough to speak. Because as people are listening to you speak, there is a category of them that is just roadside category. Another category of them is just stony ground category. Then another category of them is persecution. They will face persecution. That's another category. They are okay, but when they face persecution, they lose it. Another part of them, they are living in the world, the cares of the world and the frivolities of the world. They will go back to the world because they don't live in the church. They only come here once a week. And from Monday to Friday, they are in the world. So the frivolities and the cares and the concerns of the world, they are much more powerful than the one Sunday that I had with them. Because that is every day. They watch TV, they listen to their friends, their relatives. All those things are fighting against the truth that I'm speaking to them on Sunday. But if I teach them to go back, to till the ground, and to keep the word inside their heart, that is why we started doing exams in our church. So because exams have forced them to go back to read because they need to give exams. Because that is the only way for you to make the word or the truth become part of yourself and to bring fruit. So the next category of people that get the word of God or the truth is the category of people where the seed falls among the thorns. When the seed falls among the thorns, those are the frivolities of life and the cares of life and all those things. That thorns are a serious matter. So, but let's look at how do you deal with that? Because people who come to you, they are going to go back to places where there are thorns everywhere. What are the thorns? Temptations, cares of life, concerns of life, worries, problems, attacks, and just worries and frivolities and lust and temptations and all those things are just the real life situation. So how do you help people to overcome that and still make the word become productive for them? Okay, so let's go back to the farmer's scenario like Jesus told us the story. So you sow the seed, you already know how to deal with the stony ground. Now, this seed has fallen among thorns. So what do we do with that? What you do is go back to that ground, pick up your seed, look at the thorns that are there, and the only thing you need to do is to make sure that you have a lot of patience. Take your cutlass, take your hoe, and with a lot of patience, uproot every thorn. Uproot every thorn. Don't cut them. If you cut a thorn and sow the seed, what will happen? It will grow back and shock that seed. So when it comes to thorns, you've got to uproot. But underneath every thorn is what? It's a soil. If you will be patient enough to cultivate and to uproot and deal with the roots of the thorns, you'll find the soil. And your seed will be able to enter the soil and will not be stolen away, and it will also grow and bring forth fruit. You see? It's all about understanding, which means, let's go back to you. How do you apply that to yourself? It means you've just listened to the teachings here. When you go back to London, the first thing you will discover is that a lot of messages were waiting for you. Those are the frivolities and the cares of life. Then a lot of phone calls will begin to come in. I tell you, they will come. They will come. Your friends, oh, where were you? Okay, let's go out. Tell me what has happened. Those frivolities are already attacking you right there. They are already taking you away. The next thing you remember, after you come from McDonald's and from KFC and from casino, what? Domino's. People go to Domino's? Okay. After you've gone to a few places like that, you have even, the only thing you now remember is not the word. Okay, yes, I was in Ukraine last week. You only remember that you were somewhere last week. But the word, you don't even remember the speakers, talk less of the words. What is that? That it will happen to you if you don't mind. And even if you are adults, your husband has caused you, oh, go do this, oh, your children, your friends, your church, but it's gone. So how do you deal with those thorns? Those are real thorns because you need to go to work, you need to get the car, you need to get the fuel, you need to buy food products, you need to cook, they are real stuff. So how do you make the truth take root in you despite the frivolities of life? The same thing. Make sure you have patience. Take your time. Just like when you go to the soil, when you go to the farm and you needed to uproot those thorns, you do it by yourself. It's a time of solitude. It's a time of loneliness. And it's a time of hard work. So also, find some time of solitude. Find some time where nobody is there to distract you. It's a time to work on yourself. Because you work for your boss, you work for your work, you work for your family, you work for food, you work for restaurant, you work for everybody else. Find some time to work on yourself. So get all the material that you got from Kiev. Begin to listen and stop them and write some things down. Ask yourself questions. How can I apply this? How can this help here? How can this help here? When am I going to act on this? What should I do next? What is my next step of action? Concrete steps. And then you repeat that to yourself. Okay, these are my plan. These are my action plan. Then you put your control system. I'm going to do this, and this. I'm going to do this then. I'm going to do this now. Then you move to the other one. I'm going to do this later. I'm going to do this other time. I'm going to talk over this. I'm going to research more on this. Then you move on the other. So you must have decisions taken upon everyone on each one of the things you've heard today. And when the action plans are already in place, then you move to another one. So that is how you remove the thorns. Then there is another thing you have to do to remove the thorns. You remember, you must remove the thorns from the root. Then you have to sit down and say, I have the action plans now, what I want to do with the words I've received. What are the forces distracting me most? What are my my biggest sources of distraction? What are the things that will distract me most from taking all these actions, from doing these things? If I wake up tomorrow, what are the things that will disturb me most? Distract me most? Maybe work. Okay, I have to limit that. But since you are not working, friends, TV, fun, pleasure, all these things could distract me. So write them down. Then come up with a strategy of how to overcome friends. I switch off my telephone. Let them leave their message. When they leave the message, I decide who to reply, who to call back, who not to call back. Then they want me to go out with them to McDonald's or to cinema or to some places. Well, I'm nowhere to be found. I disappear to my room. Oh, well, mom gave me some assignment to do. Or, well, my parents said I shouldn't go out today. Well, you have some excuses, but you get yourself alone to make sure that your priorities, all the decisions that you have written, are your priorities. You must always do your priorities first. You must always do the things that you want to do first before you do what other people want you to do. So all those decisions you have taken, all those plans that you have made, all those action plans that you have written out, make sure that you put everything on the backside to first of all do them, to make sure that those things are done. And you must create the time, you must push everybody away from your life to just concentrate on making the action plans come to pass. That is how you live in understanding of the truth. That is how you make the truth work for you. That's how you make the truth work for you. Now what will happen is, if you will do that, the truth is established in you, in your system, you have action plans for them. So what then happens when persecutions and tribulations come? Tribulations and persecutions will be coming from outside, but the truth is already established inside. But when the truth was only outside of you, in your head or in your notebook, all the trials and tribulations, you don't have time to ever get there again. But once you have established that truth inside of you, Let all persecutions come. You are already grounded, and you will keep on bringing forth fruit. Same thing when frivolities and temptations and anxiety for the things of the world come, you have exactly the right answers because the word has become flesh in you. The responses will be coming automatically from you because you are already established in those truths. But the tragedy of our days is that that parable that Jesus spoke about 2,000 years ago is still as needful today as then. Even it's worse now. And the story has been spoken about, it's been spoken of 2,000 years back. But it's even much more needed, it's much more real today than then. Because today, people just hear, they just listen, but they don't take the pain to really clear the stones, the thorns, and to make the seed get to the destination and really bring forth fruit. That's why churches are full of people who cannot produce results, who don't have results. Because we just teach them and we think once we have taught them or we have spoken to them, we have done our own part. But we must also help them to get to have the culture of making the word get to take a firm ground in the heart of the people. Okay, let me show you some other ways that Jesus dealt with the question of understanding.